Sorry about being tardy. I apologize, but we are live. And tonight's topic, I have a special guest in the studio, which is my house. My brother Nana is in the house, my Ghanaian brother. And we're going to be discussing the future of Ghana. And also, we want to go in on this whole Nigerian, the borders of Nigeria being closed in regards to them not allowing, I guess, goods to come in, really from everywhere, because all the borders are closed from Cameroon to Niger, Benin Republic. So we're gonna speak on that as well. But Brother Nada, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh man, Mr. Ernest, let me shake that hand one more time. I'm so grateful to be here. My full name is Ahmed Nana Kwaku Ajiman. I was born in Ghana, raised in Seattle. Let me see, my background, I have a business background, master's in logistics and supply chain. I focus in terms of what I do now. I'm a consultant advising companies and individuals on emerging markets like Africa. My competitive advantage is Africa. I love Africa. The past 10 years, I've been in and out on an average of 3-4 months of Africa. At this point, I think Africa is the future, especially our generation. And I think it's a great opportunity for people to get to hear my side of what the future of Africa potentially look like. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff later. We'll talk about that later. But as for now, I'm grateful for people like Dinas. I mean, man, the work you do, oh my God, man, the work you do, a lot of folks don't know the behind the scenes work. You know what I'm saying, man? It's it's a lot of work, and not everybody's built for it. So I'm grateful for all that you do, and I'm glad to be a part of it, man. So yeah, that's who I am. I live in Seattle now. I'm on my way to Ghana, real soon,
And with that being, guys, I'll be in Ghana next month. I'll be in Ghana from November 15th through the 18th.
I'll be there a couple of weeks after he leaves, unfortunately. Okay. I got a daughter's birthday coming up, so I got to spend time.
Yeah.
But man, Dinas, man, let's get to it, man. Let's talk about Ghana.
All right. So I know. In fact, I will be in Nigeria next week. I'll leave for Nigeria Monday, so I'll be in Nigeria next week too. So let's start off with the conversation. Let's start where we started when we had a conversation in the car earlier. So I think we started with the coup, with Kwame Nkrumah, and kind of what led to that. So let's kind of start there. Then we'll.
I think the most important thing we were emphasizing on in the car, in regards to why all that stuff matters, is what we call systems.
Right.
We were talking about what system was compatible for the Africans when they were negotiating for independence.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying, because you're shaking the table. Yeah.
Right. So, in regards to the systems, we ain't gonna go into all that history of how Nkrumah became a president. You can read it on your own. But they had adopted a system which was supposed to be compatible to the Western system. What does that mean for someone like Nkrumah, who was a Pan-Africanist? That means he had to be able to look at what he is adapting to govern the people of Ghana, which at that time, by 95% of them had no idea how the Western system operates,
right,
and how they can use it at the micro level to even advance their supply and demand system at the micro level, let alone be able to, I would say, competitively be able to compete at the international level. So what Nkrumah did was to kind of like find a balance between, let's say, socialism and the traditional African way of governance. And I think in the long run, we saw a lot of, let's say, social institutions being implemented by Nkrumah. Nkrumah built a lot of factories. And I think he had a vision to enhance the system of his choice that he felt would be compatible for the people of Ghana. And I think that kind of mentality really led him to become a bit of a dictator, which was his downfall, because the people felt like he believed that no one else could have the opportunity to run the country the way he saw it fit. And eventually, you had some elite within the country that had obviously, had worked with the outsiders to actually get rid of him. And that's what happened. But eventually we saw that when they got rid of Nkrumah, it was a lot of turbulence. It wasn't really stable for a while. I think it really became stable when Champon had took over. Champon had ran the country for about 8 years. Ironically and surprisingly, Champon was more of an Nkrumahist as well, but he had more of an indigenous focus type of socialism. He had closed the borders. He came up with what they call Operation Feed Yourself, where him and his administration, which was a military slash it was like a combination of a military and civilian administration, which was a very interesting system.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he had the military folks, and then he also had some real, obviously technocrats who knew what they were doing also in his camp. And according to my research, his administration was the first time Ghana had a surplus as a country. You know what I mean? And I think he was also one of the few administration which had intended not to pay back the loans that supposedly they had took from the Western governments or whatnot. You know, long story short, 8 years of his administration supposedly proved to be the only time in Ghana's history where implementation of a certain system had yielded a surplus for the country.
Wow.
But unfortunately, he was not able to continue for whatever reason.
What happened?
Well, I mean, man, what happened is a big question mark. But as far as I know, in 1979, there was a change of administration through the fact that supposedly there was a lot of corruption going on in his administration. But I don't know which administration in Ghana that came without corruption. Right. So, I mean, I don't know if that was an excuse enough, but we know that on the record that since 1979, till the year 2000, and the transition of 2000 to 2008 with a new administration, and then moving forward from 2008 to 2016, we know from that period of 1979 to 2016, the average Ghanaian, which was living under low purchasing power because there were no industries over there, okay? Ghana, and I'll come back to my point, but I just wanted to make.
And if somebody, I know we talked about this some too. I don't want you to forget your point. Where does Jerry Wallings fit in all of this? And but go ahead, and then we'll get to that.
It's very, very important that we recognize that our age group.
And guys, hit that like button, okay? As you come into the chat room, please hit the like button.
Diners.
Hit the like button.
If you don't support diners, you don't believe in what we're doing.
There we go.
Okay, information is everything, and when you don't have information, you can't make an informed decision. You can't make sustainable decisions. Okay, so all this is just information, because the future is Africa. But if you don't understand the background, you might be in la la land for a little bit. So, anyways, man, what we're talking about here is if you analyze a period from 1979 to the year 2016, where Ghana was, you know, relatively peaceful, blah, 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 blah. If you were not living in Ghana and you were outside of Ghana, you hear great things about Ghana. Oh, Ghana peaceful. But internally, what will make a country that had independence in 1957, where Nkrumah gave majority of that people at that time free education? Because if it comes down to systems, how do we transition to a new system without education?
Right.
So a lot of these elders today all came out of that free education. So how do we look at what the impact of free education had done for the elders that are alive today that benefited from Nkrumah's free education system to then missing a big old cutout from 1979 to 2016, where this administration have actually implemented free education for the first time. And you know what's more interesting? The last administration in Ghana is supposedly an Nkrumahist ideology administration. So it's kind of ironic that it took those who, according to record, had worked against Nkrumah to come and implement Nkrumah's policies.
Right.
But could you imagine where Ghana would be right now if they had implemented free education for the majority?
I mean, imagine where Congo would be if Patrice Lumumba wasn't taken out. Imagine where Burkina Faso would be if Thomas Sankara is.
Well, no. Hold on now. We talking about 1979 with the Nkrumahist administration folks continuing his policies
of free education
to 2016. Could you imagine that generation of our generation folks at that time? You know, I'm 37 next month. You feel me?
I'm 37 now. I'll be 38 in April.
So I'm 37 next month. So those who were born in 1979, between the ages of, let's say, 40 and below.
Right.
If you are in Ghana, 40 years old or younger, and you don't come from relatively okay family or good family, you pretty much useless.
Right.
There's
you're educated.
What do you know in regards to really building a micro opportunity and allowing that micro opportunity to be globally competitive in a system which governs the global value chain?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like our whole generation had almost been wasted from 1979 all coming on from a system of Nkrumah transitioning to a surplus to whatever reason, interrupting with John Jerry Rawlings. And I mean, hey, you know, I'm sure he did some great things. A lot of my family members, man.
A lot of people like Rawlings though, but
I think the fact
that you made some great points though in the car, if you want to bring them up, or as far as, you know, where did he come from? So you got this mixed race guy that just comes out of nowhere.
I don't know what, I swear I don't know how a junior officer in a well-established country can just all of a sudden take the country by storm and been able to maintain hold of it through real powerful means for a very long time. Again, my issue is not the fact that he took over. My issue is, if I was a CEO of a company for 37 years, and you look at my pattern of record and there is no intrinsic results in regards to the ability to look at those who are supposed to benefit from your 30 years of operations, what do we have to look for? Sure. I mean, if you felt like the country had issues and you needed to take over and you have all the answers, sure, no problem. But 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, and people forgive him for that. And as a Ghanaian who comes from that generation when his whole administration had taken over.
You talk about Rawlings, right?
Right. You know, and his administration, you know what I'm saying? People forget that you don't plant corns and eat yams. 37 years of unproductive results based on what God has given you, from intrinsic raw materials to the ability of having a minimum, you know, educated class, to being able to optimize from that. With whatever resources you have the ability to put the team together, innovate for a solution of the people of Ghana and Africa as a whole. Because again, he was a real revolutionary minded. So what does it mean to be inspired by those who came and gave you independence and not be able to do more than them? Nkrumah had 9 years to build over 80 factories.
And where are the factories now?
I think a lot of them have been offloaded. A lot of them have been abandoned. Again, I understand why they all collapsed because they didn't have the capacity and understanding to be able to take something intrinsic at the micro level to compete at the macro level.
Right.
They didn't understand the global system of operations, which was the Western, obviously, system of operations.
Right.
Okay, these Western people gave us independence, and they made sure that they created artificial countries for us. My father is older than Ghana. Ghana is 62 years old. My father older than Ghana.
Wow.
Okay, so I mean, if you're talking about Ashanti Kingdom or the Dagomba Kingdom, that's different.
Right.
But if you're talking about consolidating different tribes and putting them in one country, all these little countries around there with their borders and all that stuff, all these artificial borders.
Right. Artificial.
What is the relevance of these borders? It was to keep them micronized even further to a point where they would never figure out how to be competitive at the global value chain level. And it worked.
That's what you're saying is something that Dr. Eric, who was the former the African Union ambassador to America.
Man, that's my lady. All the best to her.
What you just said, that's what she said. Because she said a small country like Togo is competing with these larger countries, and they can't compete.
Well, before the so-called artificial country Ghana, what was over there? You know what I'm saying? You had tribal kingdoms within empire systems.
Right.
All these, well, obviously, today they call it a federal system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like having Washington State, Georgia, blah, blah, blah. You had the Ashanti Kingdom, you had the Musi Kingdom, you had all these kingdoms within a demographic region, which was supervised by an empire system. So how are you going to have an empire, for example, the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire, the size of United States of America, and tell me these folks didn't have a system of implementation in place?
Right.
I mean, how do you govern that level of masses of an empire if you didn't have a system in place? So these Western folks or these white folks knew exactly what they were doing when they made sure that you're going to get your land back. You're not going to utilize your old system of operations to compete with us.
Right.
You're going to compete with us with our system.
And you can't compete with them.
Right, because you weren't sitting at the table when they were creating it.
Right.
It's like I came to your house, as we were talking about in the car. You know, I came to your house, you invited me in. I'm grateful for that. Thank you for your hospitality. All that money I was going to spend on the hotel. You know,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I got you. You know, guys, when I went to Kumasi last year for Akasita, I stayed with his family.
Oh,
so when he told me he was coming to Atlanta, I'm like, look, you get
this is
a hotel.
This is
fair. Come stay at my house.
Listen. So imagine I came in and I act like I know what's going on in your house.
Right.
This is your system. You built this. You know what's going on.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, man? You if you don't show me around, even when you show me around, I'm still not gonna know everything about it. Because I wasn't there when you were putting it all together.
Exactly.
Until you truly open your heart and go.
Which they would never do. Never.
You know, until you really open your heart and go, hey, this is where my secret stuff is, this is that. Which will never happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's how the Africans look on the so-called Western system. You know what I mean? And that Western system is a farce, man. There's no such thing as capitalism. It doesn't exist. If anyone can point me which country operates on capitalism, I will send you $300.
That operates on capitalism.
Yeah.
They would say America operates on capitalism.
Nope. That's a lie.
They would say the foundations of capitalism was slavery, the slave trade.
Well, let me tell you when capitalism is implemented. It's not based on economies. It's implemented when identities need to be identified. So when they need to identify a labor force for a system to feed into what they practice among themselves, and they practice sustainable capitalism among them, which is pretty much socialism. In other words, Brad calls Eric, Eric calls John, John calls blah, blah, blah. And they go, hey, I got this great plan, man. You know, we come together and, you give me this is what's going to happen. That's not capitalism.
Okay. What's capitalism?
Capitalism, as they define it, is individuals are able to use their means to mobilize capital and implement whatever they want to do.
Okay. So, but you're saying that's not being practiced right now as we speak.
I'm saying those who claim to have invented their system, that's not what they do.
So what do?
They call each other.
Okay.
And they put plans together, and they put each other's money together, and they do whatever they want to do.
So that would be considered more like socialism? Or?
Yeah. You know, I mean, if I trust you enough to do business with you,
right,
that's not based on anything other than the fact that I know you or you were recommended to me by your friend or somebody who feels very good about you.
Right.
Like today, we just went into business together today.
Right. Care bars.
You know, no one could have convinced me, bro. You did. Okay. Because I've seen all those tricks with that stuff. So yeah, you know, why? Because I trusted you. Why? Because I know your track record.
Right.
Because I know what you stand for. Is that capitalism?
No.
Exactly.
Well, okay.
Let me tell you when capitalism is.
I'm trying to
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Capitalism is identified when they need to keep you so far away from catching up with their system. Okay, when you don't need to know what's going on over there, they tell you, well, this is what you got to do. This is what you're good at. Okay, you stick with this. It's like they did with Ghana. Hey, what you do best is cocoa
and gold.
Grow their cocoa. Don't even think about building a refinery for your gold, which is the largest producer in Africa. Don't build a refinery. Let them take you to Dubai and refine it over there for you. Okay? I got a master's in logistics and supply chain. You done lost your fucking mind. Excuse my language.
Real quick. So, guys, in about 20 minutes, we're going to take a couple calls. And UFO 2020, you could challenge Nana on this capitalism.
Okay. So when they need to make $2,000 of a margin, they put you in your place.
Okay.
So cocoa is a prime example. Ghana, no. Keep buying Land Cruisers and driving on your dirt roads. Okay. Don't put capital together.
Which is
hold on.
Go ahead.
Don't put capital together.
You mentioned dirt roads, and I just frustrated about something. Go ahead.
No, the government cannot help you guys build major factories. Government cannot give incentives to the private sector to build major factories or go into partnership with these barbarous corporate companies, Hershey's, Nestle, all these folks, to build factories in Ghana, so the average Ghanaian who has cocoa farms can say, hey, my children can get up and go work in a chocolate factory and make relevant wage.
But Ghana doesn't even.
No, Ghana has
chocolate. It doesn't even really refine its own chocolate.
What Ghana does,
the raw product goes to Hershey's, Pennsylvania, and it comes back to Ghana as Hershey's.
So you had independence in 1957,
right?
And you adapted a system that you said that you can compete with,
right?
But within that process, the basic understanding on how to create jobs for your people, you threw that out the window, and fell for what? What exactly did you fall for? Because if you don't maximize the value chain of what you do best, which is cocoa and gold and all, if you don't maximize every segment of the value chain, then how do you say that you are the master of cocoa? How does that even make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So how does your people even get the most out of what God has given them? If your brain is short-sighted on how to maximize the value chain. Oh, no. Those who gave us a system saying we shouldn't do that.
Right, we shouldn't do it.
No. Don't do that. No, don't do that. That's bad for you. All you do best is your labor force in the cocoa fields. Okay? And let Belgium package it and put nice designs and stuff like that. Right. Oh, their children can get up and go work in the factories and package it. Made in Belgium.
It was crazy. The Hershey's family that's generational wealth. They'll be rich forever.
It's called pimping.
Right.
And there's different levels of pimping. You know, we got those in the strip, and then we got those in the corporate levels and the industry levels.
Corporate level is a whole nother level. Street, that's. I mean, none of that's never passed down.
So Ghana is being pimped and has been pimped for a long time. I think the start to the end of that pimping came 2016 when this administration decided to give them free education. Because what that means for the process development is, if Ghana is 30 million people, and 60% of the population is under 25.
Right.
Okay. That means, relatively speaking, in the next 15, 20 years, you will have a good chunk of a population that can write and read their names at the minimum.
So, okay. So we were discussing the gold in the car.
Right.
So what happened? I think, so before 1979 and post 1979, what happened as far as the gold, as far as who controls it? Because from my understanding, the dividends or revenue that Ghana receives from the gold is pennies on the dollar.
Again, when God blesses you and you don't take advantage of your blessings, the devil comes and shit on you. I'm sorry to say. And Ghana is one of the most blessed countries I've ever known. All of Africa is blessed, but when you talk about Ghana, I mean, they had a great start.
Right.
It was challenging for all of them, but they had a relatively better start than most of these African countries. So to have a country like Ghana deny their people of the most critical source, the Bible says, my people will perish for the lack of knowledge. If you're a Muslim, the Quran says you learn from the cradle to the grave.
Right.
You understand me? So when you're talking about Ghana be blessed with all these natural resources, blah, 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 name it, arable land. I mean, that's one place where poor people eat organic food. You and I live here.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper. And the soil is more fertilized. And look, organic industry is $300 billion industry. And what the hell is Africa doing with its arable land and organic food? When these leaders come here, they don't even negotiate for their farmers to be able to bring in their products over here. Have you ever seen made in Africa, like coconut water or this or that?
Hold on, let me show you something. It's coming. My boy Natural Ike. Natural Ike's, everybody. So support my brother Natural Ike. Okay, support the brother.
Right.
These are his breadfruit seeds, straight from Nigeria. So it's coming, but it's just on a small scale, very, very small scale, without government help.
So how do you have 60% of the global arable land and the global middle class and upper class is running towards organic food, but you don't play a part in it? It's because your leaders are content. You see, that's what poverty does to you.
Right.
When you've been poor for so long, not poor, when you've been in poverty, there's a difference between poor and poverty.
Right.
Okay. You and I are poor. I mean, we have just enough to make sure our next generation is okay.
Right. Exactly.
And anyone who's doing better than us is probably rich or wealthy. But poverty is when what God has given you, your health, in terms of your access to medicine, your water,
right,
clean water, obviously shelter is a big part of your food. These things, when they are taken away from you, you are in a state of poverty, and that's artificial, that's man-made. Okay, and that's why you got folks in Africa eating organic food,
right?
Right, and folks here are supposedly having all the material things, but they got to pay premium for organic food because the basic necessities in Africa is within the land.
It's like it doesn't even make sense to go to a grocery store in Africa. Like, why would you go to ShopRite to buy food where you could get all fresh organic food available right there, damn near on every street corner?
Exactly. So basically, let's tie that to economics.
Hey guys, hit that like button. We have almost 300 people watching. Hit the like button, please. Hit the like button. And as far as my for Natural Ike, the website is naturalikeproducts.com. Link is in the chat room. Okay. All right, go ahead, brother.
Anyway, so we tied everything we talk about to economics. A country like Ghana, I mean, how do you go wrong with your arable land? How do you not prepare your people early enough to understand the value chain of farming at the micro level and what that means to the global economy? And that's what I meant by capitalism here. Man, the richest folks are the farmers.
Right.
And they're subsidized like a mother.
Like crazy.
Like crazy. By who? By the government. Oh, okay. So they're not surviving on their own?
No.
No. Wow.
Of course not.
So that's not capitalism. Okay. Exactly. To be an industry, to have a whole big old farm,
right,
and you meeting supply and demand, and still government have to incentivize you,
right,
that's not capitalism. Okay. All right. So keep thinking you're living in capitalism world. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be considered socialism, right? Yeah. Or communism or something like that. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
But capitalism is no government interference at all.
But you just gave an example.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So anyways, to come back to Ghana, I think really the future of Ghana is bright if whoever comes after this administration is able to continue with the advancement of education, is able to tie in the criticality of industries to higher learning education. Okay, so Ghana is one of those places where you have strong juvenile learning education system. Like I went to Ghana at 15 years old, I couldn't compete. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so rigorous at the juvenile level.
Right.
But at the higher institution level, it's almost like they dumb you down. It's almost like all that good stuff you learn from elementary, when you get to college, they dumb you down because you cannot scale with your brain through innovation, through advancement. You cannot even play a role within the challenges of the country, which the challenges are opportunities. I mean, to look at Ghana and look at the filth and all this other stuff they got going on. I mean, how you not pay all these broke people to clean the country?
Right.
All these poor people to clean. I mean, I don't understand that. But they supposedly you want to learn from your masters here.
Right.
But when you come here, your masters got felonies cleaning the streets and stuff.
Right.
Right. But you can't even get the average Ghanaian who don't even get paid nothing to even clean the streets. We got malaria problems. You got Bill Gates, man, sending malaria pills and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I've had a chance to talk to him about it, and I told him, I said, do not send my people malaria pills because the source of the malaria is the sanitation issue.
Right.
The irrigation problems, man.
Water.
Man, the infrastructure system is poor, and it's an opportunity to create economy out of it, right? So I feel like this administration, at the minimum level, is giving the next generation of Ghanaians the opportunity to come and be able to read and write. And what they do with it is up to them. Because a lot of them, even if you have access to cell phones and all that stuff, if you don't know how to read, I mean.
Yeah, everybody has a cell phone in Africa, though.
Exactly.
Everyone has a cell phone and a TV. Everybody
has a cell phone, but no one knows how to read a contract.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Real quick. Have you been keeping up with the whole Russia-Africa summit?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Again, it's an opportunity for Russia.
Who wins?
Well, who wins? I mean, that depends on who optimizes their leverage. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, I mean, the ball is on Africa's court. The ball always been on Africa's court. It's just that when you have great players with a bad coach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you have people in Africa who are ready to work, who are ready, you have the diaspora, for example, quick stats.
Go ahead. Take your time.
If the diaspora remittance, example, Ghana, Ghana loses about $3 billion a year to corruption. Okay, $3 billion a year to corruption, and then they go get 1.5 or more billion dollars of aid to compensate the money that is stolen to put into the white man's bank accounts. Right. The white man takes that same amount of money at a higher interest rate, okay, and give it back to them at a loan. So who saved them from total collapse of all of that is a diaspora. Right. Man, the remittance that we sent back home, if people outside of the country of Ghana were not sending money back home, which equates to about close to $4 billion a year, that country would collapse.
So, but the remittance is glorified aid. And what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's from us.
It's from us, but it's like glorified aid.
Well, I mean, whether they want to call it glorified aid or not is the minimum critical contribution of those Africans in the diaspora to their family members that's keeping their country alive.
Right.
There are no industries over there that employs anybody. Mm-hmm. You got 30 million people in Ghana. How many folks you think are cocoa farmers? Even if it's 500,000, is that more than? I mean, that's nothing, right? I mean, you talking about a population where 60% is 25 or younger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's a huge gap in unemployment because these young folks don't all want to be farmers.
Somebody says, yes, Ghanaians be acting like Ghana ain't corrupt.
It's as corrupt as any other African country.
Are they blame Nigerians for Ghana being corrupt?
Well, I mean, man, Nigeria just get all the blame because it's bigger.
Yeah.
So everything they do is bigger.
My Ghanaian friends blame Nigerians for Ghanaian corruption.
I'm giving you guys stats. I'm talking about numbers, okay? All right, man. If the cocoa revenue is not, it's not even close to $2 billion a year. Right. Ghana and Ivory Coast share maybe 4.5 billion of cocoa revenue, and then the gold revenue is about 1.2 billion.
That's it?
That's it.
It should be more.
Right. Of course it should be more, but who negotiated for that? How did we lose it? Right. That's, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother story. But, you know, if you put all that together, my brother, man, I mean, if we were not sending money back home,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's same for Nigeria. Same for every African country.
You know, so you have these folks who want to go back home. Those who want to do business in places like Ghana, I would recommend you to look into trade institutions. You know, we need heavy machinery institutions. Why? Because really, the mining is big, agriculture is big. All this, how you want to have all this infrastructure be established, but you don't have heavy machinery institutions which can fix these machines and have people have the skill sets to be able to
do the work.
Yeah, do the work. So when you look at their competitive advantage, they haven't even built really the reverse logistics systems which can support and sustain the ability to grow industries over there. So, you know, if Ghana could make $100 billion a year, it's making $10 billion a year because it's so bad in organization. You know, and the rest of Africa. I'm only using Ghana as an example because you supposedly got independence first, and you know, so you know. But I'm optimistic.
Now let's see here. Guys, if you have any questions, number one, please hit that like button. We have 300 people watching. Hit that like button. Also, if you want to call in, okay, this is the email. If you have a question, this is the email. Email me, okay, and I will send you the link, and you're more than welcome to come on and send it here, just in case I'm not getting the email there. Go ahead and send an email. And you're more than welcome to come in. So the future of Ghana.
Future of Ghana. Guys,
next 10 years. Next 10 years. What do you see? Real
quick, if you want to know more about me, hey man, follow me on Instagram at Nana NANA _ okay, KWAKU DUA.
KWAKU.
Okay, DUA.
DUA.
Yep, that's Kwaku right
okay,
there.
On Instagram.
Yep, on Instagram. And on Facebook is Nana Kwaku Adjaman on Facebook. No, that's one _ on that one.
It's all one word.
No, there's spaces in it.
Go ahead. If you guys want to call in, you have the email. Adewale wants to know, let's talk about rice production in West Africa, why we can't seem to figure it out. Adewale, now, from my understanding, Nigeria's been producing its own rice primarily. And the reason why the border closing is going on is because people are, Nigerians or some are, people from Benin are smuggling in their rice through semi-border. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard.
That's about. I mean, it's more than that, but you know, it's
that's part of it. But you know, I could be wrong. But go ahead.
I think a good scenario to reflect what you just talked about, because we always want to bring it back into simple terms so people can just kind of like relate to it, right? For those of you who go to church on Sundays, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you gotta be at church at 12 o'clock. Well, if you one of those folks who wake up in the morning and your room is organized, you know where your shirt is, you know where your pants are, you know where your boxes, all this stuff are. Mm-hmm. On a Sunday, you ain't gotta worry about being late.
Right.
Because you just pick everything up. Okay, you put it on and you're gone. Right? But if you're one of those folks who is very unorganized,
right?
You know, you don't even know where your pants are. It's not iron. It's not this. It's not that. On Sunday, most likely you might be late. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it's going to cost you, right?
Right.
So any liability or any potential liability has two major effects. It has an economic effect and social effect. So when you look at what's going on in Nigeria and stuff, that's just compounded years of unorganization. Mm-hmm. Just the borders really being free. You could sneak in from here. You could, I don't know, pay this bribe to get in. You could do that. And people have built an economy around that. You know, the question is it sustainable? Does it yield greater returns for the greater people that are supposed to benefit from the exchange of goods and the travel of movement of goods and all this other stuff? So over the years, they realized that, man, bro, the money is going to a few pockets.
Right.
And the fact that we have created a liability on the border is impacting us at the social level and economic level. And that's what's happening. It's not just there. It's all tied to from Niger to Benin, all the way to Ghana. It's not an efficient, organized, logistical platform that allows the movement of goods to be transparent, okay, and be able to effectively add continuous improvement. It's just all over the place.
Right. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. Chima Madu, I sent the link. Adewale, if you want to call in, Adewale, I'll go ahead and send you the link as well. If you want to, if you want to add to this.
In 10 years in Ghana.
10 years.
I think in 10 years, I have a great vision that the human capital class and the purchasing class in Ghana will be a lot more efficient than it is now. Mm-hmm. I believe a lot of it has to do with the key policies and regulations which are being introduced really by this administration. Mm-hmm. In regards to the fact that, honestly, this administration is probably one of the few administrations in Africa that has been very welcoming to the diaspora. Mm-hmm. You know, could they do better? Absolutely. I mean, you can't invite us to come in and not have a proper system in place on how to integrate us economically and socially. You know, so that's where they got to work on. They got to understand, how do we invite for, otherwise it will be like how them white folks treat the immigrants. Right. You want them to come in, but they come in and they're in the hood and they're just all over the place, man, looking for something to do. How do you have a system in place that really may differentiate those who want to come in with capital and your expertise and your skill sets and what that means for the competitive advantage of the country? How can they contribute effectively to the vision growth of the country? You know, I think that's where they got to do a lot better at. But in terms of diaspora, the diaspora is looking for a way out of this stranglehold economic environment that we live in here in America, because it's not our system. We have to find a way to navigate through it. We got to find a way to make the most out of it. But our motherland, our competitive advantage system should be on the motherland.
Right. I guess be more Balanian. I guess that's Chima. Chima, go ahead, brother. Which question?
I was wondering if you remember the whole Ghana must go situation back in the day.
Chima.
Hello?
You know, do me a favor.
Hear me?
Keep talking. I'll probably have to get the Bluetooth speaker because it might still be connected. So go ahead and keep talking. Let me grab the speakers. Yeah, just hold on.
Okay. So guys, give me a second, man. I gotta get used to this stuff. Right? Yeah. I don't know. It's a pleasure to meet you guys, though, man. You know, I look forward to coming back and having more discussions.
All right, we look forward to it.
But I would highly recommend all you young folks who are looking to invest. If you are 45 years or younger, I would highly recommend you have a strategic plan for Africa. Really, man, look into the countries which are already doing well at the micro level. Okay, already doing well, already have a relatively good standards of rule of law in place. Places where they have shown that they want to grow with you. And it's okay to take a trip and go see how they operate in those countries.
Or am I on now?
All right, Chima, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if you know of the whole Ghana must go thing that's happened back in the past in Nigeria. And I've always heard the Nigerian perspective of it. There were a lot of people were complaining about Ghanaians taking all the jobs, this and that. But I would like to hear what was going on from like the Ghanaian perspective and how it might have affected the Ghanaian foreign policy when it comes to Africa.
Oh man, that was so long ago, man. I think really, man, if you talk about Ghana and Ghana must go and how they feel about it now in 2020, I think really they have moved past that. I think really right now where West Africa is at right now is these leaders are in a hurry to try to figure out what system will be compatible for this generation and the next generation coming up, because they looking really, really bad. And they looking like, listen, if we don't leave some behind, we know the next generation is going to have a tough time in being able to compete with these folks who have constantly been on our necks, who've been trying to drag us down and have us been fighting each other for many, many years. So at this point right now, it's a critical time for West Africa. All of them have embraced the African free trade, but it's a little different from the ECOWAS integration, and they are trying to find critical ways to come together and establish an effective system. Like Ghana and Ivory Coast are trying to find ways to consolidate their cocoa, which will be historical. So all these things, I think, are more of a priority than that whole situation of Ghana must go that happened about like 30 years ago, if not a bit longer than that.
Okay, so like I have a question. Like I don't really know much about Ghanaian politics, but are these still trying? And it's very. I think that it's very good that they're starting that Ghana's trying to develop better relations with the other African countries. But however, are they still trying to improve like trade and diplomatic relations between with France and the UK?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's always good to have, I would call them relative alliances, because it's a global economy. You can't just really, man, shut your enemies out completely. You know what I mean? It's almost like, all right, man, let's move on and be bygone. So yeah, they are going to maintain relative relationship with them. How the relationship advance will depend on whose interest is being served the most. At some point, Ghana will have to look at the relationship between these countries and look at what is the intrinsic return out of this relationship. A lot of these countries like England, what you call it? What was the other country? Right. Man, thank you for that, especially France. England and France, over the years, what they have considered Ghana and Africa as a whole is what they call a peripheral states. Okay. You have core states and you have peripheral states. So within the so-called illusion of capitalism, capitalism says we are the core states. Core states are those who make the big things, are the rockets, we going to space, we're doing this, da. Okay, and the peripheral states are you third world countries. So over the years, really, the core states have made sure that when they're dealing with the peripheral states, they're gonna get what they want. Period. And that's a major part of the reason why Africa has moved forward to establish that free trade agreement and try to remove that borders in relation to economics or whatnot, because these core states come and negotiate with these micro African countries. And they love that because they're able to debo you. They're able to just hammer you and get what they want. So moving forward, what that relationship would mean for Ghana would depend on what kind of country Ghana wants to be. Does Ghana want to be a strong micro economy, which is able to look into its internal micro system and say, hey, we got enough brands within really different industries which can actually compete at the global level, okay, like South Korea or Singapore or any of these countries that actually have indigenous brands which have built local strength and been able to offspring to be able to compete at the macro level. If Ghana wants to do that, they're going to have to implement regulations and policies which serve the people of Ghana, which gives them the intrinsic resources for them to prepare what they need to prepare to compete at the global level. Until then, this relationship with England and France, especially France, I mean, can you imagine if France came to Ghana, or the president of France came to Ghana for the first time, I think, in the history of France? Why? Because they realized that really, man, Ghana is building a stronger ties with Ivory Coast and looking at ways and means, really brainstorming on ways and means where they can consolidate really the cocoa industry way beyond what they are involved in right now, which is at the labor level. They want to be able to say, how do we get a greater share of that value chain of that industry that we supply 70% of the global beans with, So that forced the president of France to come to Ghana, and I love the fact that the president of Ghana had to remind him that, bro, thank you for coming, but man, we're not playing no games with you guys with this cocoa stuff. You know what I mean? If you guys really talking about poverty elimination, we got to create jobs for our people through what we do best. So really, the future of Ghana's relationship with these folks will depend on what kind of country Ghana wants to be.
Okay, that's pretty much all I wanted to know. Thank you very much. And Dinas, welcome back to you.
I appreciate it. I'll be out on Monday, so it's short-lived, which is a blessing. I get to go back to the continent.
Yes.
Right. So I'm not mad.
Can't wait.
So I'm not mad.
I can't wait. Snails, man.
Nah, you're in the hell zone for a week. Stay strong while you're still here.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for calling.
All right, no problem. Have a good day, all right?
All right, peace. Brother Fabian wants to know, since with the amount of remittance going from America to Ghana, should people who are looking to relocate to Ghana keep their economic base in America? I think that was his question.
No, what you should do is consolidate your economic base here and be able to take some of that residual income and go and establish whatever you need to establish there, or go pay a visit and look at the opportunities there. Why? Because our ancestors built here too. Don't forget that. You know what I'm saying? America as a land does not belong to all these new folks, all the Native Americans as the owners of this land are pretty much almost wiped out, unfortunately. So these inhabitants that they call white folks and us,
whoa, hold on, let me stop you. I am Dinas Montezuma Bay L.
Right.
And I am an indigenous Chickasaw, Choctaw,
right.
Moor,
right.
American Moor,
yes,
from Turtle Island.
Right.
And we are still here.
Right.
The indigenous
Turtle
Islanders.
Yes.
We are still here.
And I'm grateful for that. But the reality is, how many of them?
Well, I'm here. Dinas Montezuma Bay L.
So it's very
Chickasaw, Choctaw, Navajo, from Turtle Island.
That's
Olmec,
a fact. That's a fact.
Olmec. I am still here.
That's a fact. But it's very important that we are grateful to our ancestors who paid the price for us to be able to wake up within this barbarian system that we live in, that we got to navigate through. Man, they pay the price because you have to remember to live in their times where you got to remind someone that claiming to be civilized. But it's very
Adewale, you gotta turn down the replay, Adewale.
to pay the price for us.
Adewale, duro.
This
Duro, Adewale.
Hey, can you hear me?
Duro, Adewale. Babo.
You have
I'm
become the
Can you hear me?
official, Yoruba prince for real, brother. Because the way you say that name, man.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ekushel.
Ekabo, Adewale.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Esheo. Salutes to the brother Nana, man. Thank you, man. You're so knowledgeable, man.
Oh man, thank you, brother, man. Again, it comes down to information, man. Information came to us Africans first. Everybody else came to get it. Just like y'all coming to America and all of us coming here to learn information.
Yeah.
You came to Africa to understand what systems mean. So it's just us, man, taking it back to the roots. That's all it is. It ain't nothing personal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for your contributions, man.
For
Man,
sure.
with I just have a few questions. I want to hear your point of view. So, recently with the border closing thing that happened in Nigeria,
Yeah.
and having negative effects on neighboring countries and even on Nigerians as well, because a lot of Nigerians now experience what's it called? Artificial inflation, right? Because people are claiming that the price of those imported stuffs that we no longer get are affecting the price of other stuff in the country. So I came across a video 2 days ago. It was about a guy. This guy was venting. He was so annoyed. He was angry with the entire situation. He was angry at the government. He was angry at the citizens. Basically, in the video, this guy has a small rice manufacturing production facility, right? And it's all local, indigenous, right? And even though it's all crude, like the machinery and the process to get the final product, it looks crude and archaic. The point is he gets his rice produced. And he was complaining about the fact that most Nigerians would rather not patronize his own products. They would rather buy the products that come in from Thailand. And he was just basically cussing at the camera because he had a little video. I'll try to send the link to you, Dinas. In the video, he was cussing the future.
Send it to me when you.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll find and send it to you right away. Yeah, so he was cussing the future of the country, saying this is the reason why we currently have herdsmen. This is the reason why we have Boko Haram. This is the reason why we have a bunch of unemployed people that are not ready to witness a positive change. Because when we have local facilities where we are able to produce stuff, we don't get any support. The government absolutely turns a blind eye. If anything, the government makes it difficult for us to produce because they like the importation that is going on, since that a large amount of that money goes to them, to the custom people, the government people, and all that, right? So, I just want to hear your point of view with everything I just said, because in my own opinion, I feel like we are actually the reason why we go through so much stress, why we go through so much lack of development. We are the ones to blame. I'm sick and tired of blaming Europeans, Chinese. I'm tired of blaming the government. I need us to start looking into our own selves and think about it for real. Like, why can't we support these locally established businesses? Why can't we do
I are you sure you want me to answer this question, my brother?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Please.
Are you Nigerian? Of course.
Yes, I
Omo
am.
Naija.
Omo Nigeria. Hey
Omo
man, shout out to
Naija.
my
Everybody like
Nigerian
Omo
brothers.
Naija.
You feel me? Man,
Yes,
big
yeah.
ups, man. Big
No,
ups, big
and
ups, big
I'm
ups.
pretty sure the same thing can be associated to Ghana, to Sierra Leone,
Absolutely.
Liberia. All of us, man, we're pretty much the same. We
Right.
West Africans, even
Everyone's
Africans as a
one.
whole, we are more similar than we're different.
Right.
So I mean, it's quite frustrating, right?
All right, man. Let me embrace your question. Okay. And I want you to try to keep up with me a little bit because man, sometimes, you know what I mean, man, I can go a bit off than usual. Honestly, man, to summarize everything that you just said, you see, everything is branding. Everything is branding. Everything is about branding. You yourself, my brother, your name is a reflection of you as a brand. Are you understanding me?
Yes, sir.
Everything you do will come back and reflect your identity as a brand. So one thing we got to understand is that Africans as a people, as an identity, has been a weak brand for the past 300 or so years, 400 years. Has like you see how I don't know if you ever been to America before or if you live here or not.
I've been to them. I've been to the US twice.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
in America, for example, in America, when they say it's a consuming economy, what do they mean when they say it's a consuming economy? What they mean is the brand, okay, is what rules the day. Okay. So there's a big difference between a Chevy and a Mercedes Benz, right?
Mhm.
Man, the elements which goes into the engine of Chevy is not the same elements that goes into the into the engine of Mercedes Benz. So we could say that Mercedes Benz is a premium brand than Chevy based on the quality of material which has been integrated with the value makeup. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Okay. So what makes Africa a premium brand?
The natural resources, nothing else.
Well, your natural resources has not elevated you to a premium brand status. You are not a premium brand. And that's my point. Of the past 400 years, with all the trauma that we have faced, all the trauma we have gone through, one thing that they were able to succeed in doing is demoralizing the African identity brand.
True.
You know, like it's okay to want to wear Louis Vuitton, right? If you wear Louis Vuitton, oh my God, great, great. Who wants to be an African? No one wants to be an African.
Nobody wants to be an African. Facts.
But if you say Europe, automatically, hey, other than us,
Yeah, for sure, man.
if you say Europe, automatically, you assimilate value with it. If you say Japan, automatically, you assimilate value with it. If you say Australia, why? Because the elements which make up Australia, okay, you're able to see that it plays a significant role in the global economy, in the global environment of social life, right? You see the efficiency of the operations. All these elements plays a role into a brand becoming whatever brand that people think it is. Either people want to associate with it or they don't. So Africa as a brand has not built any elements, you know, like Bob Marley says, a bunch of rat races, right? So we don't have enough rat races who go Africa, 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 Africa. But you got enough rat races who go Europe, America, Japan. Oh, why? Even though if you analyze the history of America, you go, wow, what makes that an intrinsic brand? Oh my God, all these evil things they have done. Yes, we know they've done great things, but also all the evil things they've done. But that's not how we classify premium branding within the environment where people look at things with, if they don't see it physically, they don't believe it. Is what I'm saying? So the fact that people can come to America and they see the freeways and they see the skyscrapers, they completely are illusional within the ghettos, which are underneath the skyscrapers, within police murders, which is underneath this great technology and the high freeways and all these people who are suffering within this illusion of Hollywood lights. No one sees that. All they see is the outside, right? But if you come to Africa, man, the outside is ugly. The outside is ugly. So those who judge by just what they see are not going to be the bandwagons of your African identity brand, including your own people. So you have your leaders who have become brain fucked, excuse my language, to a point where they are ashamed of the elements that makes up the African brand identity. Not the past African brand identity. No. Classical Africa, that was a brand to be.
Right.
Man, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, the ancient Egypt and the Kemet, that's why they came there. Because your brand was like that. You know what I'm saying? So they understood the power of identity branding. So what they did, they took Jesus from you. They said, nope, we're not gonna let that great brand be associated with you. Nope, that's not you. They took it from you. So they took all the great elements or the variables that make that African identity branding great. They took it from you. How many Africans know that really, man, the first and the second oldest university are both from Africa? And the one in Morocco. And the third one in Egypt. All from Africa. These are land of information. How do you move forward? Imagine if you had never went to school or if you had never learned anything. Your navigation within this world would be useless. You don't even know what you're doing. So in those days, how do you have the first, second, and third universities in classical Africa being on your land? But today they look at you as if you are so dogmatic that you don't even know what 2 + 2 is. Because they went on a mission to demoralize your African identity, to just make sure your brand as an African never hold up. So what does that mean for moving forward? Well, after they gave you independence, they told you, they said, look, we get it. You're under a lot of pressure from your people to get your land back. We get it. But look, bro, we running this world right now. Okay? So we're going to get you the opportunity to govern your people, but it's going to be on our system. Okay? But how can your enemy have the best interest of your people at heart? What does that even mean for your own identity when your forefathers just died in the eyes of this enemy to give your land back? You got your land back. Now you're talking about the only way to maximize your land is to use your enemy's system. So it would take someone who is demoralized, who is ashamed of the variables of being an African identity, to be okay with that. That's why people like Nkrumah, Lumumba, Nyerere, who said, oh, no, your system is barbaric. We don't want it. They were like, okay, we're going to use your own people to get rid of you. Why? Because when we do that, I mean, how you blame us? Plus, a lot of your people, they want to be like us anyway. Why? Because we won by demoralizing your identity. So you're African, no one wants to hear you. None of your people even want to be you. So if you want, if you don't want to listen to it, okay, yeah, sure, we'll deal with you.
That's deep, man. You know, the last point you made, saying even your people don't want to be you. That's a strong, solid point, and that's the point Dynast is always pointing towards when he's being sarcastic about the Chickasaw, Turtle Island people and stuff.
We got Black people here in America have went from Kemet, completely skipped over West Africa, and they are indigenous Turtle Islander, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Hebrew Israelite, Moors from Olmecs.
But I mean,
because what they've done, they made the brand of West Africa so bad that they don't want to be West Africa. Because they're Kemet to we are indigenous to America.
Bro, you talking about just simple mathematics. How does the richest man ever live? Died 680 years ago. 680 years ago. That's not a long time ago. The richest man ever lived
Is that
died.
Mansa Musa?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was running an empire the size of the United States of America. You see how Washington State and all these Democrat states don't like Trump, but still they have to answer to DC? Well, that's exactly how it was within the empire of Mali. You had different tribal kingdoms. Today they call it states. You had different tribal kingdoms which answer to one superior king. So imagine this country, I live in Washington State. Imagine if China came to California and Washington State, Oregon, and go, hey, all you blue states, hey, man, your combined economy is huge. You don't need the rest of the states. We'll give you military support. We want you to just break away from America. That's what these Europeans did to these empires which had kingdom states within it. So my point is, how does the richest man ever live? Died 680 years ago. And his children, his great grandkids
Don't have nothing.
have become the poorest people ever. I mean, you know how old the world is? For 680 years to become such a paradigm shift to a people of such great wealth.
I never thought about it like that. The richest man on the planet, his descendants have absolutely nothing to show for it.
Right. I mean, how does that make sense when today we have the Rockefeller family, which all this money from whatever their father left them, our great grandfather left them, and all these folks made the Cardigans, all these Merrill Lynches, all these slave money folks.
Right.
They got something left, right? But the richest man that ever lived,
family has nothing.
So it goes to tell you that the injustice which has been done to us, they have won in a lot of ways in regards to identity branding. You understand? Because they have demoralized us. Again, poverty is artificial. When you get into poverty, you become spiritualist because you think God is mad at you or something.
Right.
So you don't believe in God. So any opportunity to be corrupt, you jump on it. It's
Rothschilds,
like
the Rothschilds.
Yeah, right. The Rothschilds and all these folks, right? So honestly, poverty has created a bunch of spiritualist Africans. Spiritualists. They are ungrateful. They are ungrateful. Look, if I say spirituality, you know you crazy when we're speaking about the Native Americans. They will be jealous of the Africans today. Because everything that happened to them, it happened to the Africans. And the Africans survived. Your ancestors, you see, you go to Australia today and the land is gone. Okay? They don't have no land anymore. You go to New Zealand, the land is gone. You come here, these Mzungus and taking over the land. On your continent of Africa, can you imagine walking? I walk miles. I like to walk. I walk miles, and sometimes I don't see one indigenous, pure Native American. Not even one. Can you imagine walking on the continent of Africa and not seeing one black person?
Ooh. You know, there's so many facts that point to the fact that we are
very strong and grateful to the fact that your ancestors saved your land. The most critical aspect of humanity is your land. Saved your land for you, where today you can walk on African land and see tribal nations all over the place. You think that was a coincidence? You think that white man wanted to leave your land, bro? So for them to be in your graves and you see these leaders who are like 67, 80 years old, blah, 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 bro, they are such a disrespect to the tradition of Sankofa. Man, the tradition of Sankofa means sustainability, to create for today without hurting tomorrow. The tradition of Sankofa gives the authority to the elders to prepare the next generation for proper transition. So these elders over there, bro, I can't wait for them to die because I don't know what they're gonna get when they go meet the ancestors, bro. You feel me? I don't want to be in your shoes, bro. Fast.
Like, I'm sorry to say this, right? And this is gonna hurt a lot of Zimbabweans that are in the chat. See, it's a shame that Robert Mugabe had to die in a hospital in Singapore. It's a big shame, and
after all that, after all that he put in, after all that work he put
after
in,
all he
big
put
shame.
those people through, and at the end of the day, he couldn't even die in one medical facility in Zimbabwe.
Yes, I
You know,
would
it's a
agree.
shame. But anyways, I have two more questions for you. Sorry to take too much of your time, right? Two more questions. So the first one is, I was gonna ask you about the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo.
Yeah.
The truth is, on the surface, he looks good. He looks like he has great intentions for the country and for Africans in diaspora. And I would like to hear your thoughts on how he's running things with regards to welcoming everybody in and stuff. Secondly, my other question is now, this is a little bit off trajectory, but I'm just going to say, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, before he was murdered by Obama and the French guy, yeah, he was trying to initiate a system within the continent where the currency to be depended upon would be gold, right? So he was gonna make gold the natural currency of Africa, and anybody that wants to come trade with any part of the continent would have to exchange gold with whatever they're bringing in, right? So the guy was murdered, and the rest is history. In my opinion, this is just me personally. I never trusted Gaddafi, never did, and till this day I still don't, because the way sub-Saharan Africans have been treated in Libya is a typical example of how people from Libya view sub-Saharan Africans. All right, so I just want to hear your thoughts on those two questions I asked, Nana Akufo and Muammar Gaddafi.
Okay. In regards to Akufo, well, let me answer your Libya question first, and then I will extend a bit.
I'll put up your email. Okay, page right there.
In regards to Muammar Gaddafi, he had to go. You know, they had to kill him. And honestly, man, I think from my personal analysis and opinion, I think he's one of the reasons why, after he died, that these African leaders have hurried up to implement the African free trade, because they realize, man, if we don't find a way to seriously open our borders to each other and trade, these folks can just come anytime and get rid of any one of us, no matter how puppet you are or shit, how real you are, because the African Union is financed, I mean, man, by these folks anyway. So if they come in, they come in. The African Union is like having a man in a house as a woman and he can't protect you. It's almost like, man, it's okay, yeah, it's horrible. So he had to go. But Libya have internal issues that kind of came back to hunt Gaddafi. You know, Libya is a diverse country. You know, you have folks who came to Libya when the Ottoman Empire was ruling Africa. You know, that's like what, maybe like 200-300 years ago. Okay, came there in trade. A lot of them had settled in Misrata. You know, and those folks have been looking for an identity in their country for a very long time. And then you have indigenous people from that land who are black people, black Libyans. You understand me? Because a lot of folks forget that, again, Africa didn't have no borders. You know what I'm saying? Empires, you had different tribal nations all over the continent. You know what I mean? And the original people on that continent are black people all over the African continent, from north to south, east, and west. Those that came in, we could track when they came in and when they settled in. We have all that information. So regarding to Gaddafi, man, I believe his grandfather even came from Niger. Okay, so he actually had original Black African in him. But what he did was he segmented a certain portion of the Black population in Libya, which had not pretty much been on his side when he took over the first time. And that led to the war with Chad. So that kind of gave him some enemies within the corridors of Africa as well. You see what I'm saying? So when these folks had made up their mind to come, they were able to use his internal enemies, including those who came in from the Ottoman Empire. And those are the ones ruling the country right now. Their heritage originally come from Turkey. Okay. They don't come from Africa originally. Okay. But if you've been somewhere for 300 or 400 years, you might as well try to find a space over there. But to try to do it at the expense of the original people that were there is just a classic example of how the white men have always done things. You know what I'm saying? So they saw the opportunity to get rid of Gaddafi and establish a stronghold for the first time since they moved into that region maybe 200-300 years ago. So in regards to him, his plans for Africa were massive. But I look at him like Nkrumah a little bit, man. He thought he was the only one who could do it all. And unfortunately, when it came down to it, they couldn't actually protect him. So yeah, I think he had a great vision. It's just unfortunate that he had no support. Yeah, to move on to your second question, I hope I answered your question a little bit in regards to Libya.
Well, yeah, you did.
Okay. Moving on to Ghana, Akufo-Addo. See, there's some things some people have to understand about Akufo-Addo. Man, look, man, the process of development, if you have a business degree, if you ever own a business, if you ever started a product or a company, McDonald's will tell you the process of development takes time. The process of development is no different from you planting a tree and having that tree be able to grow with its natural course to be whatever it wants to be. So what does that mean? What I mean is, other than the peaceful nature of Ghana that Akufo-Addo inherited, okay, the man pretty much inherited an incompetent country with a very exaggerated, educated class. You understand what I'm saying? Because Africa is so bad and have been so bad with the elitists and policy implementation over the years, people saw Ghana being peaceful as relatively just enough to be good.
True.
But no one understood what does having peace mean if you can't optimize it for the greater benefit of your people economically and socially.
That's the point. If the people are not benefiting from your governance, then get the hell out of here. We don't want to see you. Period.
So, honestly, man, to come back to your point with Akufo-Addo, his administration, this is the second time in the history of Ghana that his administration is taking over the country. The first time was from 2000 to 2008. And then from 2016 till now. Well, let's look at how long the last administration have had the country for. They had it for 37 years. 37 years.
Well, was the last administration like a major opposition party of the Akufo's party? Or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a major opposition of the Akufo-Addo party. But we're talking about we talking about timing and development. We're talking about what does Akufo-Addo mean for today. What he means for today is, at the minimum level, with a population of 30 million in Ghana, where 60% of the population is under 30 or 25, okay, it's one of those. Those people have an opportunity to prepare a next generation that can go into a space of learning for free from elementary to secondary school. This is the first time in the history of Ghana since Kwame Nkrumah. You see what I'm saying? So why did he do that? Because he understood that even in a place like America, where people can get up and go get paid $15 an hour average, people go to school for free. Why? Because at the minimum, education is the most important basic necessity to be an informed voter. So when you're talking about Ghana, this man is 75 years old as a president. He's not looking at anybody in Ghana who is 50 years old or older. You're going to deal with the situation as it is, as you've been dealing with it since they had independence.
Akufo-Addo is 75 years old?
Yeah, man, around there, 74 or 75. Yeah, around there. So if he implemented free education, what is his vision telling you? His vision is telling you that, listen, I'm not looking at you old folks right now. I'm going to do what I got to do to make sure you guys have a stable economy or a right economy. But I think his real vision is looking at Ghana 20 years from now. What does Ghana look like 15, 20 years from now? How do we optimize or scale on the fact that we've given this population, this young population, free education? That's the basic level. Okay, what is next for this same class of a population that I'm giving free education to? What is next to prepare them to be globally competitive? I think that is the answer he's trying to answer right now. Is a question he's trying to answer right now with his administration. I had a chance to meet a few of his critical members, including the vice president and stuff. You know, I was very honest with him. You know, I said, look, your people have adopted a system which was not invented by them, created by them, and they don't even understand it. How many ministers in parliament understand the Western system of governance to the teeth, including its economic form and its social form? What social environment do we have in Ghana? We don't even understand it. Yeah. What economic environment are we operating in Ghana? You go to Ghana and you will see the largest economy is cheap buy and sell products. Everybody is buying and selling something, and they are all inferior products. Why? Because when you have a bunch of people in the country, you still have to meet the basic supply and demand things, the soap, the shirts, the shoes, this. But when you have low purchasing power economy, they can only afford the cheapest ones. And that's how China have filled in. Is, okay, since you guys don't want to build your purchasing power through industrialization, we'll just let y'all figure it out. Until then, we'll give you what you need for your everyday. Because when you get up in the morning, you need your soap, right? You need this, you need this. So you have a small population of the country which has created economy or wealth out of supplying a bunch of poor people with just cheap, inferior goods, because the majority of them cannot afford intrinsic purchasing power. Why? How do you gain purchasing power? How do you gain purchasing power? You gain purchasing power through the ability to be competitive. Well, how do you become competitive without education? Without understanding of value, without understanding your comparative advantage economy and what that means regarding its competition and leverage at the global level. How do you do that? So what he's doing is gradually preparing the next generation of Ghana to take ownership, to take ownership of the micro supply and demand system through brand development and product making. You got to make products to meet your internal supply and demand needs and be able to allow those brands to compete at the macro level. And they're not even there yet. So he's starting off with the basic level education, because again, my generation, anyone who's 4 years or younger, the last administration wasted their lives. 37 years, they wasted them. They have no. So yeah, but I think it's a lot better than all those who came in the past.
Okay. Thanks for your insight, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate your insights. Thank you once again, Dinas, for having me, man. I always appreciate you, bro.
Kotope, Kotope, Komo
Kotokwe.
Oh, well, Nigeria, we are waiting for you to wake up, my brother. What thing they happen?
Man, bro, I don't
Why you guys
know.
dey drag your feet?
Our people, they sleep, man. I don't
Make
see
no
me.
worry, man. No shaking, man. Time to catch.
Honestly, you know, in the last few years, this conversation amongst Pan-African people where everybody is, you know, trying to hype up Africa and trying to make it look good, which it is actually. In real life, Africa is a great place to be. But, you know, at the same time, we have so many problems, especially the ones that originate from the so-called leaders that me personally, I'm just sick and tired of them. And I really wish something can be done to them, you know, but
Yeah, the only thing that can be done, you have to
yeah,
remember. You see, evil has no degree class. You see, it's more spiritual than physical. These people have inherited an evil spirit. It doesn't matter if they have 200 degrees. It doesn't matter. Again, they are inferior-minded people sitting in critical decision-making spaces.
inferiority complex at its
Right.
highest
They
order.
suffer from inferiority syndrome complex, which
It's so
comes from,
disheartening, bro. Like,
as
you know,
well. We
a
didn't
country
grow
like
up. They
Russia,
grew up.
you check this out, bro. A country like Russia that a bunch of these other Western countries don't even fully respect. They call on a Russia African summit. And we have about, I don't know, a couple of dozen African leaders run into Russia. You know, it's like, aren't we just sick and tired of collecting handouts from these people that
No.
honestly, it's quite
I
annoying.
would disagree with you on that. You are
Okay.
supposed to go. You are supposed to go because, again, let me correct you. The Russians are not disrespected on the Western level. No. Don't get it twisted. Those people have built their own indigenous system, which works for them.
Mm.
The Russian system is an indigenous system which works for them. They have their own mathematical formula. All their weapons and all that stuff is in their own system manufactured. If you don't understand Russian, you wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So
I wish Africa could get to that extent too. And
exactly.
you know what the truth is, bro? You know, the reason why, okay, for example, what happens in the United States constantly, just go on YouTube, go on any major news channel. You would always see a black person getting killed, getting shot, getting harassed, getting beaten up by the police, you know, just getting disrespected and, you know, treated like trash in
Your
America.
brand has no leverage.
Now,
Your brand has no leverage, my brother.
these people that keep treating these Africans in America that way, they know they can do that and get away without any ramifications because there are no African leaders that are going to come fight against the United States, period. Because the United States sees Africa like Africa. It doesn't even see the individual countries. I mean, in America, people are like, oh, I'm going to Africa. They're not even like, I'm going to a particular country. You know what I mean, right? So we're still in this position, which we've been talking about in the last 30 minutes at least, where we're in the position where we've been subjugated, we've been disrespected, we have inferiority complex. Our people don't even want to claim that they are ours anymore. And you know, we got to do something about it, baby. That's just the truth. We have to do something about it. And I mean, this is a great step. This is a step towards progress. What Dynas has been doing for a long time. Salute to Dynas. The man has my utmost respect. I swear, man. And whenever I visit ATL, I'm coming to you, brother. But meanwhile, you know, we have to do something about it because I'm sick and tired of the status quo. You know, a lot of us, we run away from the continent. We move to countries like America, United Kingdom, Canada, all those countries, only to realize that, man, what am I even pursuing? I'm just running all over the world in search of Uhuru. You know, it's just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
Honestly, man, I am grateful you called, man. Just understand, man, you got to have respect for the process of development. you got to be a part of the future, because a lot of people, honestly, man, talk about Africa this, we need our Africans to do this, we need Africans, but are Africans preparing themselves to fill in the positions? Are they preparing themselves? Man, the wisest thing that man told me was, you got to have the vision for the wind of change. So the change that's blowing across Africa, you got many industries, you got many skill sets needed, you got such a great demand for quality service that it can't even be met right now. So how many Africans are preparing themselves? You got folks living out here, they will take a trip to Paris and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to Paris, but you're afraid to take a trip to the motherland. You understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, you going to Paris, and the only reason why Paris is nice is because they're leeching off of Africa. So what does that tell you if you by 25 years or older? It means if you smart, or if you calculating properly, you need to establish a brand, some kind of brand to meet whatever service and demand over there, and allow that brand to grow with the natural progression of information acquisition and awareness, and what that comes with quality development. And that's what happens.
Respect to you, brother.
Respect. So yeah, you got to talk to your friends. Stop complaining and all that stuff. It's an opportunity. All those challenges in Africa are great opportunities, which requires innovational minds, indigenous minds, you know what I mean, to be able to meet the deficits that we are missing, you know. And that's where my calling is. I advise companies who are looking to create jobs in Africa. If you don't want to create jobs in Africa, I don't even talk to you. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't even talk to you, because you got a lot of strong micro brands in Africa run by good people. These good people are the ones who have kept Africa alive. It's not for these sick, evil, retarded elders who have a track record of really costing their people so much. It's not them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's good folks who have Africa in their heart, who believe, who are grateful to their ancestors. You understand me? These people are the ones who are creating solutions for the future of Africa, and want Africa to be just as competitive and innovational with its own indigenous ways, just like China did. We have no problem learning the good things from other people. But to adapt bullshit to implement with our people is what these people expect us to do. And you understand me? I'm like, you folks adapted the Western concept, but why don't you take the good shit that they do, the infrastructure investments and all this other stuff? Why don't you take that? You want to be like them? Why don't you take that? You know what I'm saying? So right, man. So don't get soaked in with all the emotion and all that stuff. Don't get soaked in with all that stuff. It's an opportunity to sit back and analyze that creating a company is no different from you growing a tree. You got to allow it to grow with the right nourishment. You know what I'm saying? Where is that? It's the only place a young man can become a millionaire in 5 years.
If I learned anything in tonight's conversation, it's the fact that you need to respect the process of growth. And I'm going to take that with me for sure, man. That's a great point right there.
It's nature's law, bro. It's not my law. It's nature's law.
I understand, brother. I understand, bro. I understand. You know, we all have different temperaments. Me, I get emotional sometimes and I lose my cool, you know, especially when it comes to speaking about these African issues, because I get so cheesed, man. I'm sick and tired.
Because you want the evil to become positive, and evil don't do that. Evil don't. All evil knows is destruction. You understand me?
Oh, man.
People to a point where the people go, okay, enough is enough. You know what I mean? And that is because evil don't prepare the people to be able to challenge them properly. Evil can't compete, bro. Evil don't compete on the evil playing field because it doesn't have the right leverage. So it has to find ways to do the evil things to get his name recognized. You see what I'm saying? So if you get caught up in this game, you're gonna lose because it wants you to come on this level. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that we keep giving our people education and let them understand that we can't change what we have adapted right now. We live in a so-called a democratic system. We have to vote. We have to do this. So the more they become educated, the more they can be able to make informed and critical decisions on who's for us and who's not for us, and be able to use the track record of these people who claim to be for them to judge them. Africans don't use these people's track record to judge them. This man has been useless for 20 years and you still think he has hope.
It's all good, bro. Anyways, nice having a conversation with you, brothers, man. Peace and blessings to y'all, man.
Blessings to you, man. Mother Africa live. Peace.
I will kiss the ground for you when I arrive in Nigeria next
week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bro. When I can afford it, because I can't afford it right now. But once I can, I'm definitely coming through.
Okay. So I will kiss the ground for you once I walk out of Murtala Muhammad Airport.
Right.
Dinah, take care of Gina, eh? Gina Ifue.
I will. If I can Gina. Yeah, I will.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right.
Peace.
Brother Nana, go ahead and close out. How can people contact you, reach you?
Listen, man. Man, my emails. Listen, man. Agiment Consulting Services is my company. Okay, we restructuring the whole website, but just email me. You know, man. Man, let me see here. Consulting Services.com. Okay. All right, man. That's my company name, man. I'm going through a whole overhaul, man. 2020 is gonna be great. It's gonna be great. We're excited for it. My Instagram is Nana_. Let me see how you do it, man. Kwaku, yeah. Okay. Man. All right. Boom. That's my Instagram, right? I don't know how you do that, man.
Instagram.
Facebook is Rada Kwaku Agiment. Yo, blessings to my people in Ghana. I love y'all. I can't wait to see y'all real soon. Man, shout out to my family. You know what I'm saying? Man, Dinah's, man, I'm more than grateful, you know what I'm saying, for this opportunity to share with your audience.
Anytime.
You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm looking forward to spending more time with you. Man, we're already doing business together. Carrot bars. Carrot, hey, I'm gonna get used to this, man, because I'm on this. You feel me, man? Carrot bars. Peace and blessings to all my African brothers and sisters, man. Be grateful for who you are.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to dynastamir.com. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time, family, Dynasty Amir, my brother, Nana. Until next time, peace.